Still flying solo, huh? No man would take a barren woman like you, he jeered. Unfazed, I countered, all you have are insults, don't you? Unlike you, my son inherits his mother's charm. As I spoke, his smirk waned. Let me introduce my kids, I said, revealing my son. His smile faded, replaced by tremors, revealing a shocking truth. 15 years back, my former spouse betrayed me with his childhood friend, even fathering a child with her, leading to our divorce. Post-divorce, I faced harassment from his paramour, ultimately resigning from my job. At my lowest ebb, my current husband came to my rescue, and together we forged a contented family life. However, our bliss was fleeting. Out of the blue, I encountered my ex-husband, who deserted me years ago. Hi there, I'm Hannah White, 38 years young. My crew consists of my 13-year-old dude, Kevin, my 11-year-old girl, Lila, and my partner in crime, Mike, who's also clocking in at 38. Kevin, hitting the middle school scene, is smack dab in the middle of his rebellious streak. Lately, he's been quite the chatterbox. But when he really crosses the line, Mikey swoops in to lay down the law. Now Leela, she's all about glam and style, a true fashionista. Being the baby of the family, she's got a knack for getting what she wants. Kevin, who looks up to his sis Lila, goes into panic mode and starts apologizing the moment she hints, "Be nice to Mum, or else." He quickly blurts out, Sorry, I'll be on my best behavior with Mum. Promise." He's a straight shooter and keeps the vibes lively. Despite the chaos, we're one happy bunch. Oh, by the way, fun fact. I've been down the marriage road before, ended it due to my ex's downright treachery. About 15 years ago, back in college, I was deeply involved with my ex-husband, James. Our bond was strong, bolstered by a shared circle of friends. After tying the knot, we eagerly anticipated starting a family, imagining the joy of dressing our little ones in matching attire. But fate had other plans, and a year passed with no sign of parenthood. Each menstrual cycle brought tension to our relationship, a strain we both detested. We engaged in numerous heartfelt discussions and even pursued costly fertility interventions. But when told there was nothing wrong, our marital relationship didn't improve. Initially, James was supportive and cooperative, but as time passed without a child, his attitude towards me began to change. He'd throw sarcastic comments like, when will I ever become a father? As if it was all my fault we didn't have kids. He stopped helping with household chores altogether, leaving me to do all the cooking, washing dishes, laundry, and cleaning. When I asked, why have you suddenly stopped helping with the chores? You used to help, he said. Since you're infertile, if you don't at least do the housework, you're not fulfilling your role as a woman. What's the point of our marriage then? His words became increasingly thorny over time. My sister and her husband are already expecting their second child. Isn't that great? They're on their second, and we don't even have our first, right? He would glare at me with harsh eyes, mocking and despising me. If you had a normal body, I would have been a father long ago. How can you say I'm not normal when we don't even know the cause yet? But James retorted, infertility is always the woman's fault. Don't you even know that? If I had known you were infertile, I would never have married you. Show some remorse. His words pierced my heart. I also started receiving calls from my in-laws saying, we want to see our grandchild soon. At first I brushed it off, saying, it's only been a year. These things take time. But maybe that was a mistake because my mother-in-law's attitude became harsher. She'd say, you're useless if you can't have children. My daughter had one right away. You're the only defective one. I felt pressured every day. One day, my close friend Sarah invited me out for drinks. James had been saying he was busy with work and coming home late, so I thought a break would be good and accepted the invitation. Then Sarah revealed a shocking truth. "I've wanted to see you for a long time, Emily. There's something I need to tell you. I've missed you too." "So, what did you want to talk about?" Emily: "Do you remember Killer?" Killer was James's childhood friend. They lived near each other as kids and their parents were close. Killer and I went to the same university, and now she works at my company. She's the president's daughter and got her job through connections. Kayla and I weren't particularly close in college, as we were in different clubs and departments, and we barely interacted at work. James once introduced me to her, saying, "She's my girlfriend, so be nice to her." But she glared at me, perhaps not wanting to lose her childhood friend, so I thought she disliked me and kept my distance. Tall and beautiful, she was popular enough to be in beauty pageants in college and was somewhat of a celebrity in the company, being the president's beautiful daughter. "Killer? Oh, James's childhood friend. Yeah, I know her. She's beautiful. We're at the same company, but we don't interact much." "What about her?" "Well, it's hard to say, but I think Emily, your husband James, and Killer are having an affair." "What?" I was shocked by Sarah's warning, feeling like I'd been struck by lightning. "I saw them the other day. They were walking hand in hand, not like just friends. That can't be. You should check it out. And call me if anything happens, okay? Thanks for telling me. I had a feeling that James was cheating. His attitude towards me was terrible, and he always came home late, claiming to be working overtime. On weekends, he'd say he was entertaining clients and wouldn't be. I had a vague idea, but I pretended not to notice. That day, after parting ways with Sarah, I headed straight to a private investigator. The reason, of course, was to gather evidence of my husband's infidelity. It didn't take more than a week to gather evidence, but I myself wasn't ready to decide on divorce right away. No matter how terrible a husband he was the person I once vowed to spend my life with. I couldn't decide right away. A few days later, I returned home to find James, who usually came home late, sitting at the dining table. "Oh, you're home." "Yeah. I thought you'd be late today, as usual. I tried to sound sarcastic on purpose." "Yeah, sorry about that. I need to talk to you. Having heard about the affair from Sarah, I had a bad feeling. I want a divorce." "What? So that's how it is?" I realized that James wasn't just fooling around with Kille, but that he was serious. Kille's pregnant. So, I'm gonna marry her. "Kille, your childhood friend. You said she was just a friend, and now she's pregnant. You were having an affair." "Don't call it an affair. Makes me sound like a scumbag. Can't be helped, right? Killer can actually get pregnant, and she's beautiful. There's no reason for me to choose you over her." I was shocked by James's brazen attitude. He didn't think he was in the wrong at all. I was so shocked that I couldn't find the words to speak. Seeing me silent, James scoffed and said, "Even my mum kept nagging me to divorce you. She always liked Kyla more. She's beautiful, kind, and can have kids. My mum will be happy with this." In the end, my mother-in-law and husband had always preferred Killer. I was so sad that tears started to flow. "Well, I've packed my things and I need to leave for the sake of the child that's about to be born." Saying that, James left the house. I didn't have the energy to stop him. Later, I was unilaterally sent divorce papers. There was a note attached, written by a woman. "Please divorce my husband quickly." The contradictory words made question marks pop up over my head. I wanted to retort, "You're the one who stole my husband." Seeing those words, I finally came to my senses. Why am I the one being blamed? I couldn't just silently go through with the divorce. With that thought, I took the evidence I had gathered from the private investigator and filed for divorce mediation. A few days after filing, I received a call from an unknown number. Wondering who it could be, I answered the phone to hear a woman's voice screaming, "What do you think you're doing? Why are you suing us?" It was Kille, the affair partner. Well, it's obvious, isn't it? I know all about your infidelity. It's only natural for me to ask for alimony. Alimony? I have a baby in my belly. You're really going to demand money at a time when we'll need it most? Who's the real monster here? You sleep with a married man and have the nerve to say that to me. It's your fault for being infertile, you terrible woman. Her high-pitched screaming hurt my ears. Anyway, I intend to settle this divorce, including alimony, in court. Let's discuss this further in the proper setting. With that, I hung up the phone. Later, thanks to the evidence I had, the mediation recognized James and Kille's relationship as adultery. James, unhappy with this, tried to blame my infertility, but it was dismissed as unreasonable since no test results had confirmed me as the cause within just a year of marriage. I received $40,000 in alimony from James and $20,000 from Kille, both paid in one lump sum. I didn't want a prolonged, messy payment schedule and a lingering connection to them. This is how our divorce was finalized. However, my suffering didn't end there. Since James, Kille, and I all attended the same university, the affair scandal became a topic of gossip among many friends. According to a close friend, the rumor was that I had hidden my infertility and tricked James into marriage. Some people even sympathized with James and Kille. How awful! Kille and I worked at the same company, and she spread unfounded rumors there too. Everyone sided with Kille, who's a beauty and the boss's daughter. She tearfully played the victim, saying, "Hannah is such a terrible person, taking money from us for alimony when we're about to have a child, even though she hid her infertility." At first, I tried to ignore it, but being the boss's daughter, Kille got preferential treatment. My boss would scold me, "Don't be mean to Kille," and despite my hard work, I was progressively left out of major projects. Eventually, I was mentally cornered and chose to resign. While I was looking for a new job, I received a headhunting offer from another company. They said, "We need someone as diligent and talented as you." At my new job, I was amazed at how freely I could work. My new boss paid close attention to each employee. There was none of that favoritism or nepotism like at my previous company. I found myself drawn to this wonderful boss. That's how I met my current husband, Mike. When I was at my lowest after a terrible split from my ex-husband, he kindly supported me. After several dinners together, we started talking not just about work, but about our personal lives too, and our relationship developed. Things went well between us, and thankfully, Mike proposed to me. However, having been rejected by my ex-husband for infertility, I had many fears about marriage and confessed to Mike that I might be infertile. Then, looking at me earnestly, Mike said, "Of course, I'd be happy if we could have a child together in the future, but the most important thing is that I love you, Emily. You're important to me. So, even if we can't have children, I will always be by your side." He hugged me gently. I was so happy. I thought I wanted to spend my life with this man and decided to marry Mike. Soon after our marriage, we had our first child, Kevin, followed by our daughter, Lila. Perhaps not getting pregnant with my ex-husband was a matter of timing or compatibility. Raising children is hard, but we're living happily. Then one day, I attended a friend's wedding. During the middle of the ceremony, when it was time for greetings and mingling, I stepped out to go to the bathroom and saw my ex-husband, James, whom I hadn't seen in 15 years. Why is he here? I panicked for a moment, my mind going blank. But then I remembered that today's bride and groom were friends from college. It made sense for James to be there. I tried to ignore him and walk past, but he called out loudly, "Hey, So he noticed me. "What? You've put on weight, haven't you? It's been so long since I've seen you." James, seemingly drunk, talked loudly and spat while speaking. "You haven't changed a bit," I added in my mind, still as unpleasant as ever. Then James called his family over. There was Killer and their son. Seeing my face, Killer smirked and said, "Oh, it's been a while. Have you gained weight? Is it stress eating? Must be tough. I bet you're still an infertile woman with no one to take you, right?" I was dumbfounded by their rude behavior and couldn't find the words to respond. I noticed their son hanging his head, blushing with embarrassment. He had very handsome features. I forgot to introduce him. This is my son. As you can see, he's cute like Killer, right? Killer, too, proudly bragged about their son. He's handsome, smart, a real genius. Sorry to say, it seems like we're the only happy ones here. They praised their son and looked down at me with smug smiles. However, their son seemed unhappy with his parents' behavior, seemingly displeased with them belittling someone else. He must be a very kind boy, I thought. But I had no time to deal with them. As I turned to leave, James grabbed my arm tightly, stopping me. "So, you cause our divorce because of your infertility, and then you have the nerve to extort money from us." James was still holding a grudge about something that happened 15 years ago. If anyone should hold a grudge, it's me. Then Killer also turned to me and said, "Yeah, you're a single, infertile woman. Why would you need money? Families with children like us need it more, don't you think? Pay us back double the amount you took from us at that time." I was dumbstruck by such selfish remarks, speechless, when James and Killer's son spoke up. Single means unmarried, right? But she's wearing a wedding ring on her left hand. Pointed out by their son, James and Killer stared intently at the ring on my left ring finger. "What? You're married?" James and Killer's loud exclamations drew stares from the surrounding people. I was mortified. As I pondered what to do, I caught sight of a familiar face. "You shouldn't be so loud at a celebration like this. It's disturbing others. Maybe you should be more considerate." "Mum, who are these scary-looking people?" "Kevin, Lila." Yes, worried about my late return, Kevin and Lila had come to check on me. Lila, as usual, was outspoken, but it was rare for Kevin to speak so provocatively. "Mum, you're late coming back, eh? Mum, you have kids?" "Yes, I do. Let me introduce them. This is my son, Kevin, and my daughter, Lila." James seemed speechless, shocked that his ex-wife, whom he thought was infertile, had 2 children. Kyla was staring intently at my son. After a while, she muttered in a strained voice, "That uniform." She seemed fixated on my son's attire. He came straight from school with his dad. "It's not about that. That's the uniform of that famous private middle school." "Huh? Oh yes, Kevin's attending that prestigious private middle school." "Yes." Kevin excelled in his studies and was attending a well-known local private school. "And my daughter, too. She plans to take the exam for the same school next year." "That's right. And you know what? Kevin is amazing. He won a violin competition." "Violin? I thought I recognized this boy. Wasn't he on TV recently?" You saw that. Yes, he's been getting a lot of media attention lately. Today, he's coming back from violin practice. Impossible. That can't be." James and Killer were left gaping, frozen in shock. "You were supposed to be infertile. How could you have such—" I calmly addressed James's confusion. "I'm glad to see you two seem happy. As you can see, I'm filled with happiness too. Let's not involve each other anymore. We have nothing to do with each other now." As I was about to leave with my children, my husband, Mike, appeared. "Hey, what's going on here? The main event is about to start again." Seeing my husband, James's face turned pale. "President Smith." "What? Keeler, too, upon seeing my husband, turned white and trembled. "Your husband is Smith, the young CEO of ABC Corporation who got the job last year, right?" "Actually, my husband Mike works as the CEO of the parent company of Keeler's father's company. He was job hunting when the parent company approached him for a position, and that's how he switched jobs. I met Mike there, a man who was already popular and skilled. Last year, he was recommended by the then CEO and took over the role. Yeah, it's Smith, but, huh? What's with this atmosphere? What happened?" Sensing the uneasy air, my husband Mike looked puzzled, and that's when Kevin spoke up. "These people were saying mean things about our mom, calling her infertile and fat. So Lila and I came to help her. They heard it. Kevin and Lila had overheard my ex-husband and his wife making rude comments about me. That's why Kevin had spoken up like that. You guys are those." The word infertile seemed to click something in Mike's mind, and his expression turned grim. I had heard rumors, but never imagined they were this insensitive. Then James suddenly started to defend himself to Mike. "No. I mean, Mr. Smith, I would never say anything bad about your wife. Right, Keeler? Why are you groveling so much? She's just his wife, right? I was the one who got yelled at by my father and suffered a lot because you made me pay her money for our affair. I'll never forgive you now." "Keeler, what are you saying? If he dislikes us, our subcontracting company is finished. Think about that." Realizing it was bad to be disliked by the CEO of their parent company, James started to flatter Mike, but Kyler, not satisfied, started arguing with him. What a ridiculous scene. Then James and Keeler's son, who had been silent, burst out. "Stop it. Listening to you both is terrible. You're saying awful things about her, calling her fat and infertile, and now demanding money back. I'm ashamed. And what about this affair? Was I born from a love that couldn't be?" His voice trembled with emotion. James and Keeler struggled to find the right words. As I noticed, the onlookers had turned their attention towards us. Keeler, catching their stares, blushed and glanced away. Despite my lingering resentment towards James and Keeler, their son appeared to be a fair and gentle lad. He bore no blame in this mess. With this in mind, I was on the verge of consoling their son when my husband, Mike, spoke up. "Thank you. You defended my wife. You truly are a kind-hearted boy," he said, tenderly ruffling the boy's hair. I chimed in with a smile. "And perhaps I've gained a few pounds." "That's not true." "Well, actually, I'm expecting. My belly's been growing," I confessed, caressing my bump. "I'm presently carrying our third child and on maternity leave." Seeing the tears welling in the boy's eyes, I continued. "Your mother cared for you deeply while you were in her womb, just like this. You're cherished, not unwelcome. Your folks adore you and beam with pride for you, isn't that right?" Glancing at James and Keeler, the boy questioned them. "Really?" They nodded eagerly, affirming, Yeah. You're our pride and joy. Absolutely. You're our everything." The boy's face lit up with a wide grin at this assurance. Witnessing their son's happiness, I too felt a wave of relief. Let's remember today as a day of celebration. Let's all return to our seats. With that said, each family made their way back to their places, and thus the chaotic moment came to an end. As the wedding concluded and we headed towards the station, Keeler and James approached, hand in hand with their son. Kevin and Lila had been confronting the two who had insulted me, but Mike eased the tension with a wry smile. We're sorry. Truly sorry. It's belated, but for everything in the past and for today, we apologize sincerely, and thank you for earlier, for our son. It marked the first apology I had received from them in over 15 years. Maybe even those awful folks had softened a bit after becoming parents. I chuckled, thinking, well, it's too late for that now. So I spun around and began striding away. Kevin chimed in, offering to lug my bags. Lila, always thoughtful, tossed a jacket over my shoulders, saying, "Here." Even as kids, they showed consideration for my pregnancy. All right then, how about we whip up Dad's favorite burgers for dinner tonight? Kevin and Lila cheered, "Yay! Yay! Thanks!" With a promise to shield the smiles of my cherished family, I left behind the pains of yesteryears.